We are all at different places in our stories, so don't compare your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 10. Take control of your narrative, and your chapter 10 could be even better. Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me here today. If you're new, I'm Amanda. Welcome to the channel where we are all about shattering the mental health stigma. If you haven't already, please make sure you make sweet, sweet love to that subscribe button. Give the bell a few kisses so you aren't missing any of this content designed to help you with your mental health or help you help someone else. Today, at the recommendation of Christopher Ortleff, my amazing Patreon, I'm going to be reacting to Disturbed Asylum. I wasn't new to Disturbed when I came and started doing these reactions, but I never really went deep, and it's been really awesome just going deeper into the Disturbed discography and their work, so I've really enjoyed that, and you can check out a couple of my other reactions. But thank you so much, Christopher, for your support. If you haven't had a chance to check out my Patreon, please make sure to do so. Link is in the description. Every single dime goes toward my mental health outreach. I'm very passionate not only about the big projects, but about helping individuals through their mental health challenges. So please make sure to check that out, and you can see some of the things that we are doing as a community to help others with their mental health, aside from the videos and the content here. But let's dive into Asylum by Disturbed. Waterboarding? Really? That's where we're going today? All right. You know, I forgot how visceral my reaction was to Inside the Fire, and this is not completely different. It's just depicting that madness, and this sounds to me like the trapped feeling that comes from grief and loss by death or loss by choice, like in the case of divorce, but really we process them pretty similarly anyway. But we can get trapped in hell loops of trauma and of fear and of feeling like we're being mocked and feeling like people are just watching us fall apart. And that trauma never really goes away completely, as the song mentions. And the loneliness can feel like we're starving to death and we're having to watch everyone else around us merrily gluttoning themselves and not seeing us wasting away because they're too busy telling us that we should let it go or move on, and it doesn't work like that. So I think all of this, from the expressions to the lyrics, really ties that message together. But these things are processes that take time and actually take effort to be able to overcome. I always forget, it's weird, but I always forget how unique Disturbed sounds, because I know a lot of bands and a lot of groups just kind of blend together, and it's very hard to tell them apart, but his voice is so distinct.
In asylum, I live a lie. Don't you know I'm in love with you and I wasn't ready for asylum. Relive a lie to let go. Now it's dragging me into your grave. Your asylum, forget the lie. Overcome and the feeling that I won't get to join you in time. And the loneliness is killing me.
Okay, so when you get stuck in the grief cycle, first and foremost, it can feel like you're running and you feel like you escape, but it just keeps chasing you, and that's what's being depicted here. The torture, the chasing, the reset, it just keeps happening over and over because it's not like it's linear and we go through this grief and this loss and then it's done. That's not how it works. Sometimes it repeats, you get to that point and you think, okay, I'm doing okay, and then it just ends up repeating. But with that cycle, there's also the temptation of going to be with your loved one that's lingering in the background or sometimes in the forefront. It kind of switches back and forth, yet you know that you can also live the life that they couldn't. You could do that in their honor, and I talk about that a lot here on the channel. When you lose someone, the best way to honor them is to live the life that they couldn't and share their wisdom and share their love with the world. Find ways to do that. But the mention of judgment for the immortal sin tells me that this is about suicide, which makes perfect sense after hearing Inside the Fire, which I did a reaction to, and learning David's backstory. It makes sense that he's working through his trauma in his work, which, by the way, is a very, very healthy thing to do, whether it be producing music or writing poetry or painting, whatever the case is. Working through trauma through outlets like that can be a very, very healthy skill to develop.
For asylum, we live a lie. To let go, now it's dragging me into your grave. Your asylum, forgive the lie. Overcome, I'm not feeling that I won't get to join you in time. All alone, loneliness is killing me.
Gross. Oh, that was a lot to that was a lot. It was very heavy. I always thought the term asylum for a mental health institution held a really cruel irony, since asylum is supposed to be a safe place that someone can escape to, and historically those places are exactly the opposite. They were notorious for abuse and just deplorable living conditions. There were always too many people, and in some cases there was even torture and human experimentation in these institutions. And they started obviously moving away from that for most cases and realizing that these people could be treated. But I think that is the message that's going on here, is there's kind of that dichotomy that there's asylum in the thought of death because it's a seemable escape, but there's the asylum in the sense of being locked away, and you can't escape trauma and grief. And you can't escape an asylum. You know, you can't escape these things. So I think that there's definitely a connection there, but it's like we're plucked away from our happily ever after and thrown into this barren room, or thrown into a situation where it just feels like torture. It just feels like no one understands us, nobody cares about us, and it's just going to be this psychological torment for the rest of our existence. And like I said, while it doesn't go away, there are skills that we can adapt that can make grief and loss easier to deal with, and we can make progress over time. I thought my whole life, I always thought that when my mom passed away that I would just give up, that I'd be done, that there was nothing I could do to possibly get past that. And when she did pass away, I spiraled so hard in every feasible way, physically, emotionally, everything. I just spiraled really hard and turned to all of the wrong things. But I did survive, and I found another side to that. And it took a while, and it took a lot of effort, and I had to go through a lot of pain. And there's a lot of things I wish I would have done differently, but I was trapped in this asylum in my own head. I was trapped in this place of torture and in this place that was just completely deplorable. But what I didn't realize was I did have the power to change it up. You know, I had the power to eventually escape and find an escape route that really worked for me. And again, that doesn't mean that I never have any symptoms of grief. That doesn't mean I don't miss my mom. That doesn't mean that there's not hard days. But I did get to a point where I genuinely escaped in a way that was not the unfortunate ending of this person in the video. But I'm assuming that there is just that connection of the desire to escape from the feeling of going crazy, or the feeling of just completely losing control to this torment. So I'm sure that a lot of you have been there. I'm sure a lot of you relate to this. So make sure you're sharing your stories here in the comments. That is how we shatter the mental health stigma, is by talking about it. So good, bad, and crazy, give me your stories. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and share it. Just give people a safe space to come and talk about their experiences. It's huge in moving people through that trauma and grief, just having the community and having a place to share and to talk. I love you guys so much. Again, thank you so much, Christopher, for bringing me back to Disturbed. I'm never disappointed. A lot of bands that I'm just kind of, do I really have to do this again? But with Disturbed, I'm never disappointed. So thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. Mwah.